about organizations, I mean organizations, but in the data context. And concretely, I would like to speak a bit about data mesh. And maybe I would like to start to demystify this word, because I think it accumulated quite some confusion around it. So data mesh is about organizational structure. It's not about technology. So you don't have to use PySpark to have data mesh, no. So it's more about organization. And let's see, why do we want to have this? Like, what's wrong with our organizations? Well, we believe that data mesh is going to enable organizations to scale their analytics efforts. Without data mesh, that's going to be, let's say, harder. But you might ask me, but what's wrong today? Like, why couldn't we scale? And this is a typical organization, any here. We have our departments here producing data, right? We have our finance department producing probably Excel files. We have our product department probably producing something in SAP. And here we have our sales probably using Salesforce to have their data. And on the other hand, you have your data consumers who want to predict your revenue, who want to predict your churn, and who want to see how much candy to stock in your shop, right? Because it might run out of it. So in the middle, we have our hyper-specialized data analysts who use all these PySpark and all those fancy tools to do their stuff. However, this situation doesn't really scale because you have all these walls between the different teams. So typically, they are organized into different teams. So what would mean is that the data analysts in the middle need to implement transformations which are vaguely described by the users, and they have to implement those informations on data which is not theirs, which is coming from these guys here. So this kind of cross-team ping-pong all the time makes you kind of slow down, and eventually this team here will become the bottleneck, no matter how many people you put there, because of the across-wall ping-pong all the time. So, and data mesh is supposed to be solving this. So let's see how is it, what it's proposing, and how does it go around it. So we still keep your departments, right? So we don't have to tear them down. However, now each department is encouraged to do their own analytics. So anything internal to your sales should be handled by the sales department. And the sales department is encouraged to hire a data engineer to do their things. And that data engineer is going to become a part of the sales team. And he or she will know everything about the sales domain. They will know what happened 2 years ago when they migrated from one system to the other. Right? The product data engineer will know everything about the product and why the SKUs changed 2 years ago. And in the finance, they will know that which Excel file to pick up for the last quarter review figures. So once you have this, that's all good, but you will want to share your data. So that also means that the organization as a whole should agree on a set of interfaces on which you will exchange your data. So these are typically APIs or just some files on some storage. Usually it is some kind of Parquet files on a cloud storage, but it need not be. Some companies decided on databases, so each domain would run a database, and other domains are welcome to read from those databases. But so the actual choices are less important. The important is that you have to agree on those choices, and you have to enforce them. And so, but once everybody does that, when everybody knows how to read from an API, once everybody knows how to read from a DB, then the communication should be easy. And all this is then supported by a platform which sets up the primitives for all these interfaces. But it also has to be coming from the top. So the leadership should say that, hey, we want to organize our company according to this model. So once you did all that, you will figure out that actually there is 4 main components to running a data mesh successfully. One of them is that you have to look at your data as if it was a product. The second is that you should organize your teams into domains. The domains are your X organizations. These teams should be enabled and empowered to do their own infrastructure in the cloud typically, but it need not be again. And you should have some kind of federated governance, right? I mean, it's not, we don't want the Wild West, right? We want some order in our data mesh. But once you have these three points figured out, also 4 points figured out, that's data mesh for you, and that's lovely. But yeah, so we are unfortunately in reality and not in some imaginary world. So what we have observed in the past couple of years, working with different clients, we are going to distill in those 4 points, and we see where do we collectively struggle and where do we collectively do okay. So let's look at data as product. Well, yeah, what does it mean data as product, and what does it mean to have a data lake? Yeah, so data should be discoverable, right? So if I tell you, hey, take the sales data of last quarter from the data lake, you should be able to find it in 5 minutes. If it takes longer, that's not good. The data should be accessible but also secure, right? So it shouldn't be worldwide open, but it also shouldn't take you 3 months to get access to those sales data. But third, and maybe the most important, if it is not valuable, if the data is full of junk, then it is not good. And you have all these 3 points figured out, but then you are at the data lake. However, yeah, companies are often stuck in a data swamp, right? Where the data is, yeah, well, yeah, it's very hard to find. Yeah, there is like 5 versions of the sales data, and most probably not all of them have the same quarter data inside them. If it is accessible, it's usually not secure, or the other way around. If it's secure, then it takes like half a year to get access to it. And even if you get access to it, you will see that the date times are in the wrong time zone, and then all the IDs of the customers have changed 2 years ago, so you can't do historical regression, right? And ultimately, you end up in the data swamp. It's very hard to get out of a data swamp. But hopefully, with keeping these points in mind, you manage to drain the swamp and yeah, organize it into a lake, hopefully. Besides the data, let's look at a bit what's wrong with the team structures, what we have seen, and what we can do to, well, to not have it so. Very often, we've seen that clients, when they want to do a product, you assemble a team, right? And you have your project manager, you have an architect, and then you have an API person, and you have a database person, and you have your data engineers on the bottom, right? And they all work very hard to deliver something, and it actually delivers, and it's there, it's running. However, at the moment you want to start using it, you see that the team dissolves because they all get to do something else, and there's the only one left to maintain it is kind of missing in action. So that's the second problem. So please don't dissolve your feature teams. Please use long-lived feature teams who will be there to support your products. Looking at self-service infrastructure, this is typically okay at clients. But the point here would be that each team should use the tools that they are familiar with, but also that they need for the job, right? So some teams will be maybe forever fine with just Excel files flying around, but some teams will probably want to use Kafka and all the streaming stuff to have everything up to date in like 5 minutes of time. But so the thing is that we shouldn't enforce the technology choices on the teams as long as they obey the interfaces that we have discussed a moment ago. So as long as they can exchange data within the organization, you as an organization shouldn't care how that team delivers their deliverables. So yeah, you can cook with a stick, or you can cook in a very fancy pantry, right? And then lastly, we arrive to the federated computational governance. Well, this is a bit governance in general as well, but typically this part is the most or best figured out aspect of a data mesh at clients. Typically, clients do manage to consolidate pretty easily and fast on a technology. So concretely for data analytics purposes, you would pick either Databricks or you pick some kind of cloud-managed Spark. I'm looking at AWS EMR, but anything else goes. Or some other one, more advanced people, they would maybe use the Kubernetes, managed Kubernetes one from one of the cloud providers. And most often there is an airflow somewhere in the middle orchestrating all these things. And this works quite well. So I think that on this axis, the companies that I've seen and our colleagues have seen, they do pretty well. So that's that basically. These would be then the 4 pillars of a data mesh. So once more, maybe the data as a product. Yeah. So yeah, keep order in your data lake. Please keep domain-oriented teams. Enable your teams to do what they need to do the way they need to, the way they want to do it. And yeah, the computational governance is usually figured out, so no problems there. So as a summary, this is a long, long road. Right? So these are such organizational transformations don't take overnight. So they take years to deliver. So yeah, but every step will get you closer and will get you already benefits. So if you're on the road, don't give up, just continue. But know that there is quite some missing planks in the swamp. So yeah, just keep doing it. And with this, I think I would conclude, but I'm going to hand over to Nathan, who is going to discuss how to enable such data meshes in practice.